Hello, friends, and welcome to Boston.com's Cocktail Club. I'm Jackson Cannon, and soon I'll be joined by Gina Richard Sargeant, bar manager at Select Oyster Bar in Boston. Tonight, we're making cocktails with Pims, catching up about the local bar and restaurant scene, and of course, sharing some tips the pros use to make great drinks at home. When you registered, if you click through to Gordon's Wine and Spirits and purchase the Pims cocktail kit, then you have all the ingredients you need. Profits from these kits go to Off Their Plate. This is a great charity that buys meals from restaurants that need the business and distributes them to frontline workers and others in need. We have a great playlist of local music by the team at Hereby in Cambridge, and all the while, we'll be taking your questions from the chat. The things that you'll need tonight, of course, you'll need Pims. Pims number one. Not a lot of times that there's a spiritus liqueur that has a number one, and most people haven't seen the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but you need some Pims. For the Pims cup, you also need some lemon juice, so juice a lemon or two, simple syrup, sugar 1-to-1 with water, some cucumber, and a little ginger ale. For the Dartmouth highball, you'll need lemon juice and simple syrup again, but this time mixed with a little bit of gin, mint, and ginger beer. We need just regular cubed ice tonight, the kind that you can get out of just these regular close to 1 inch by 1 inch trays. Need about 4 cubes to shake the first cocktail, another 4 to plate it, and probably about 4 for the last one as well. For glassware, a highball or a Collins glass is traditional and typical for the drinks that we'll be making tonight. A wine glass works really well. If you don't have a highball, that's always a white wine glass about the right size for drinks like these. Other equipment that you'll need, we're going to shake the drink, so a Boston shaker set. I've got these Charles Joly tins right here. If you don't have access to that, of course, you can always use a little Tupperware or like a deli container or something like that. This gives a great seal, and you can shake a drink in here and make it work out just fine. You'll also need a strainer, maybe a Hawthorne strainer or a tea strainer if you've got one in the kitchen. You'll want something to measure with. We have these jiggers that we use in the bar. They have like great compound measures, 2/1, 3/4/2. It lets us combine all sorts of quick measurements to make multiple drinks at a time. We're making 1 drink at a time tonight, or 2 maybe of the same thing. And so it's very easy to use a tablespoon. You just have to remember a tablespoon is 1/2 ounce. Very accurate measure. So if the recipe calls for 2 ounces, that's 4 tablespoons. If it calls for 3/4 ounce, that's a tablespoon and a 1/2 tablespoon. Pretty easy, very accurate. Most houses have that. Some tweezers or tongs come in handy for moving your garnish around. You're going to need a cutting board, a knife, and if you have been hearing me talk about this wide peeler from time to time, tonight we're going to actually have some fun with that. I think that's just about everything we need to get started. Gina Richard Sargeant literally grew up in the bar and restaurant business. With over 20 years experience, her first and lasting memories are of her dad's bar in Las Vegas, the place she learned about the importance of hospitality and the impact of guest connection, as well as classic cocktails. As an entrepreneur, she and her best friend opened Weather Vane Music Hall in Brattleboro, Vermont, which ran for a few wild years before Gina moved to Boston in 2011 and joined the team at Island Creek Oyster Bar. She rose to head bartender there, and in 2015 left to open Select Oyster Bar as bar manager for Chef Michael Serpa, although Select is shuttered now. Gina looks forward to a spring reopening. You can support her directly by hitting the tip jar. Her Venmo is at Gina-Richard. She's a great bartender. She's a Pims enthusiast, and she's a friend. Welcome, Gina.
Hi, nice to see you, Jackson. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
It's so good to see you and have you here.
Yeah, it's nice to see your face.
Right? How's it going? I know the restaurant's closed right now, but how are you doing? What's going on?
Good. I have, as some people know, I'm very distracted being at home. We have a new baby who's 3 months old, so I'm very busy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He's great. He sleeps really well, so we're really lucky. So that's a lot of my focus has been on that. But if life were normal, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, I would be back at work by now. So I do miss being there a lot. I look forward to warmer weather and and nicer days ahead and better times
Well,
for our restaurant
I
as
don't know
well.
about you, but that little blast of sunshine looked a touch like early spring today.
I know, it was awesome.
Hopefully it
Yes,
won't
too.
be too much longer. What can we do to help the restaurant in the meantime? Are gift cards for sale?
Yeah, gift cards are for sale online. There's also a nice GoFundMe link up that really is there to help our back of the house employees specifically, or really any employee that does not qualify for unemployment benefits. That's kind of a issue across a lot of restaurants. You know, these people tend to be the backbone of the places that we all love to go to. And they've been hit probably the hardest with these shutdowns. So that GoFundMe page helps that those people at our restaurant. And I think a lot of other restaurants have those types of things set up as well. So it's good to keep an eye out.
Well, if anybody knows you or anybody knows Chef Michael, like, you know, it's great to hear, but it sounds familiar that you guys would be looking out extra careful for those who need it the most. It's appreciated.
Absolutely.
Hey, are you getting thirsty?
I'm so thirsty.
On a lighter note, I want to play with a little Pims. We're going to do a little garnish work, I think, before we make our drinks. So I think we should get onto that before too long. So this peeler, as we all know, is a nice wide one, right? So this allows us to do something fun on a cucumber. Now, to garnish this drink, you just need a slice. They throw it at the Napoleon House, my favorite place. They just throw it right in on top of the drink. But we can have a little fun. I'm gonna actually cut my couple of slices that I'm gonna throw into my drink and move them to the side. And then I'm gonna take my peeler, do this in a way that everybody can see, and I'm just gonna run some really nice long strips here. And the first ones aren't that usable. If you're worried about waste, you know, I like to throw these in a little pitcher of water, and it makes a nice little pleasant cucumber water. But you go about 2 or 3 down and you start to see that's almost there. It's getting wider as we go.
I'm not making
Glad
them
we didn't have to.
I'm not making them with you because I have a limited amount of cucumber here, but
right on. This is it's a little bit that's a pretty good one. So you can do a couple of things with this. I'm going to take my bar spoon. Of course, actually, this handy tool of chopsticks might be just as good as a bar spoon for this gig. And I'm going to dangle this down in here and kind of twist it around a little bit. It's hard to do sitting down. And once I get a little bit of a turn in it, I'm going to use this, curve it around, kind of stick it to the sides a little bit there. And then, are you glad we didn't have to do this 3 deep on a ball game?
Yep, exactly.
Night together.
I haven't had to do that in a really long time.
These are the things you get to do when you're making drinks at home, and you know, making them a little extra fancy. And then, if you decided you didn't want to do that one, the other one that's good when you have one of these nice long ribbons, you can take a toothpick or a skewer and you just kind of dangle it down and loop it back and forth. And when you're all done with that, you have like a nice little cucumber ribbon. So you can either do the ribbon or put it right in the glass or do a slice and drop it on top. That's just fun with cucumbers, right?
Yeah, you can also do like the nice little bias cut. Pretty easy. You want to cut your cucumber at a little angle, make a little notch in the side, and then it just sits right in your glass. If you don't want to mess around with the long peels.
Well, not only was that easy, that looks great.
Sure.
Okay, so now we can make our Pimm's cup. And I call this Napoleon House style. It's a little bit, you know, that's a great restaurant, bar, meeting place, clubhouse, public space in New Orleans, which you and I have had Pimm's cups at before,
Yeah,
there and
I don't
to
think
go.
I've had Pimm's cups since then, honestly.
Right. So there they kind of have a lemonade sort of made, and they use the soda to kind of gas it up, and they're making them quick, and it works really well. We have a little bit more time to make ours. So I like to just throw a couple of pieces, a couple of slices that we did earlier, just, little dimes. Use that one and this one. And then if you don't have a muddling stick like this, you can just use, like a spoon, kitchen spoon. And you just want to break them a little bit for adding in simple syrup, lemon juice, and Pims. And this is one that's really good in classic proportions, as we say, 2 to 1 to 1. So I'm going to do 1 ounce of simple syrup, which would be 2 tablespoons. And 1 ounce of lemon juice, also 2 tablespoons, so equal parts there. Now, when we shake this up on ice with the Pims and add a little ginger ale, we've sort of made a little lemonade inside the cup with the rest of the Pims and things. So 2 ounces of Pims, 4 tablespoons. So 2 parts Pims to 1 part lemon, 1 part simple. On the just kind of lightly crushed cucumber, we're going to ice that up and give it a good shake. Lots of advanced questions about what Pims is. And it's a gin-based liqueur. So it was a spirit, and it has fruits and spices and things infused into it. Think bottled cocktail of the 19th century. It proofs way down from a spirit. It's at 25% alcohol, which is about twice as much as a wine would have, but about less than half what a spirit would have, what we call 50 proof. So give that a shake. And then this is one, if you're trying to keep little bits of that cucumber that you've shaken around out, you can use a tea strainer. I'm pretty confident if I throttle the Hawthorne, I can keep control of that stuff pretty well. It's not like I'm serving it up. We're going over the rocks. I've put cucumber in the glass already, so feel that that's pretty much cool. And then just a little splash of ginger ale. And it's interesting that we think of this Pims as a bottled cocktail. It's, of course, getting activated by some fresh citrus and a little soda, which, as we know, Gina, right, when we're batching cocktails to go.
Oh, yes.
It's nice when you do a little something when you get where you're going with it.
It's true.
It's,
This glass that I use is a little big, but that's okay. You're at home.
and I see Gina's making sure and we're getting the soda integrated into it. And we've got a Pims cup. Let's take a sip.
Great. Cheers.
Cheers.
Perfect.
It's so fun. It's bitter and sweet and light and refreshing. And
Yeah.
this has like, you have to drink 5 of these to get to like the alcohol of 1 vodka tonic. So
It's true. It's true. I haven't really had anything but wine really at all in the last year. So this is a nice reminder.
Yeah,
things
typical, right? When we make cocktails in the bar, we tend to not make them at home so much. And you haven't been drinking probably much but a spritz or a
right. A glass
wine,
of rosé here and there over the summer was approved, but I haven't really had any. I bought myself a bottle of Eagle Rare a couple weeks ago. So I've been enjoying that Eagle Rare bourbon after the child goes to sleep. So that's been my treat.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, we're getting some fun questions.
Nice.
I'll take a couple of quick ones to get them out of the way. What kind of peeler was that? That's an OXO.
Yep, I have one too. It's great.
There's lots of other little fancy metal ones, but I like those that you can replace the blade when it goes bad, and the handle's indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you remember what the different Pims numbers were?
Yeah, I remember the 1 is the gin based. I think 2 is the Scotch based. 3 brandy based, but that's all I remember. I didn't even know that there was more than that. But I think you know.
Well, and the brandy base got rebranded at one point as the Winter Cup.
Ooh,
I know that. Like this was the summer cup and that was the winter cup. And then I know they did rye whiskey for the American market.
nice.
Think about how long ago that was. Rye was king at that
Right.
time. And then they eventually did tequila and vodka, I think.
Weird.
But it's Pimm's number one. You kind of don't have to say the number one, right?
Sure.
Pimm's. This is what we all have access to.
Are any of them made still? Can you find them like in the UK or just not at all?
Well, almost all of them were discontinued in 1970. In 2014, there was a little wacky relaunch of a bunch of them.
Okay.
And then they were pretty much discontinued from there. I think the vodka one was kind of popular in Britain. So that might, and I think they gave it another name, but that's about all I know.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose like if you saw one of those earlier numbers somewhere unopened, that would be really a fascinating grab.
Absolutely.
A vintage and rare spirit, and you should buy it and call Gina and me and come bring it to us and we can all drink it together. But it lends right into this other question, how long, well, actually the question's better than the way I was going to say it. Question is, I've had an open bottle of Pims for 15 years.
Ooh.
Is it good? That's a great question. It's recommended that you drink an open bottle of Pims between 18 months to 2 years. It's only recommended because after 2 years, the flavors start to fade.
Is that kept at room temperature, or it shouldn't be refrigerated?
Room temperature, it's totally stable. It's based off of a spirit, even though it's deproofed with these other ingredients, it's very stable. That 15-year-old bottle would be fun to drink. It would probably be close. It would just, I think the fruits and spices might be sort of muted, flabbing out a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Another really fun question. People want you to go into a little more detail. I mentioned your dad's bar in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
On the upfront, and people were wondering if you'd share a story or say a little bit more about that.
Very special place. I would hang out there as a kid, watch my dad work. Kind of a local spot, a big industry spot. All the people that got off work when they were done with their weird shifts at hotels and casinos would come over there. My dad worked the graveyard shift, so he worked from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is just such a wild concept to me still. But it was one of the busiest times at the bar, and just the family of regulars was just really special. Any bartender there would anticipate someone's arrival ahead of time and have their drink in their seat. It's just a great place. Every year they would have a Super Bowl party that would sort of also be a staff party as well, and they invite all the regulars and all the staff and their families to come, and it was just maybe the most fun I've ever had. My little brother, I have images of him terrorizing people in his diapers at those parties, so he's probably embarrassed that I just said that, but oh well. Yeah, it's a wild place. Lots of shenanigans. Not all, I can't share all the stories, but.
Well, it explains a bit why you were so unflapped by the shenanigans in Kenmore Square. They were.
Oh yeah, that was nothing.
They were quite a bit lighter than what you'd seen.
Exactly. Sadly, the bar.
Asking for. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. Sadly, the bar. It was a victim of COVID as well, and they shuttered permanently in April. But I'm
sorry to hear that. Yeah. What's he gonna do?
Not sure what they're gonna do, but hopefully they'll figure something out. Yeah.
People are asking what we can sub for Pims in such an unusual flavor.
Yeah. I'm
got any ideas?
I mean, I just think about what you could use Pims in place of if you came across a recipe like something that maybe had cassis in it or chambord or something, if you wanted to make the drink not as sweet and a little more interesting. I don't know what I would use in place of Pims really off the top of my head.
That nails it. By that logic, you'd take some cassis and cut in some gin.
Yeah.
And you get something a little bit closer to it, but it's such a distinctive flavor. It reminds me of when we discovered a Mer Picon, which is that French bitter, and you couldn't get it regularly, so you'd try and make your own. You could definitely make something in this profile by doing fruit infusions, but I just sort of feel like why would you bother? For substitutes, I think like aromatized wines and vermouth with a little cassis and a little gin might get there, you know, like, so that'd be a fun,
for
it's a fun
sure. Yeah.
experiment.
Yeah. Cool.
What do you think about taking us through a nice variation on this, the Dartmouth Highball?
Highball. It's a great cocktail. Kind of one of those things that I'd forgotten about for a minute and then was reminded. And then when I thought about it, I realized that it was one of the first drinks that I ever made when I was at Island Creek. I made it the night that I staged actually there before I was actually hired. And before that, I didn't really know Pims from much except for a Pims cup, so I was pretty excited to try it in something different. So let's see if I remember how to make this. It's been a really long time.
Me too.
I'm gonna take, I don't have the double tin set up at my house, but I'm just gonna take a mixing glass, which is fine. You're gonna grab 4 mint leaves, put them in there, and then a 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. Jackson can tell you how many tablespoons that is. I can't do the math right now in my brain.
That's a tablespoon. That's a tablespoon and a half.
Tablespoon and a half. Got it. Right. Okay. Tablespoon is a half an ounce. Put the syrup in there. And you're gonna muddle it just really gently. Just break it up a little bit. You don't want to muddle them in too much because it can kind of create this bitterness. You're just gonna press it a little bit to get the flavors into the syrup.
Yeah, and like we did on that last one, this is a really easy thing to substitute a long wooden spoon or something for.
Yep. This drink is fun. There's a little more, has a little higher alcohol content because there's gin in it as well. We're doing 1.5 ounces of Pims next. And then 3/4 of an ounce of gin. A local gin that I really like with this cocktail is Privateer's Tiki Gin.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Of course, I can't get this open. I'm going to use.
I'm going to use a little. I'm going to use a little.
What do you?
Which one are you using?
I have Oxford.
I'm going to use a little Ford's.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Perfect. But a local gin that I really like in this drink is a Privateer's Tiki Gin. It's has a little bit of a more full mouthfeel. Has some nice tiki spices in there, fresh citrus. They only make it in the wintertime when citrus is at its peak. But that's a good choice in this cocktail. So 3/4 of an ounce of gin, whatever gin you like. 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. I juice lemon juice ahead of time. You can always juice your juice as needed with one of these guys. See? Another thing you can do is strain out the pulp with this if you want. Not super necessary in this drink, but makes for a little smoother going down. So 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. The lemon juice will last in your fridge only about 48 hours, I'd say. Not much longer than that. So we don't need to shake this one with ice because we're just pouring it over some fresh ice here. I'm going to fill up my glass. We're going to be adding ginger beer on top. So I just do a dry shake on that. Kind of keeps the mint from getting more bruised. Just kind of
the stealthy little dry shake.
Yep, just getting the ingredients mixed together. And there's 2 ways you can do this. You can certainly strain it into the glass with your Hawthorne strainer if you have that. Or you can, if all you have is this, you can just pour it right in this way.
Oh, fun.
I splashed a little bit out, kind of press the mint out. Yep,
that's a nice way. That's a nice way to go a little faster.
Yep, I'm gonna add another ice cube.
And people are asking why the dry shake, and you can really see the difference if you remember when we poured the shaken Pims cup that we just wanted a little dash of bubbles on it, came up to here, but we've got a lot of room left in both these glasses, and that's where a lot of that dilution is getting made up for, and that's why you don't want to over dilute it by shaking on ice and then adding the ginger beer, right?
Right. And I'm gonna add the ginger beer now. You can stir it with a straw or a little spoon to incorporate it. And then a nice garnish with a mint. So you kind of get the aroma of the mint when you take that first sip.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
I was reading what you wrote about this cocktail today.
Oh
And
yeah.
I had forgotten about that tie-in to tea flavors.
Oh yeah.
So, and then I was like, oh yeah. So I made myself a cup of Earl Grey this afternoon, just to kind of like be like, I think if I remember right, this kind of almost tastes like that. And it really does. I think if you put this in front of somebody and said, this is a spiked iced tea, they would say, sure, you know?
It really does. Yeah, I had forgotten too. And then when I asked Bob McCoy, our dear friend who created this drink when he was at Eastern Standard with you many, many moons ago, he reminded me of that as well. That was one of his inspirations to create something that was, you know, boozy iced tea, but not a Long Island, something different.
Yeah, the right Island iced tea, but that wasn't a very good name. So I think we called it the Dartmouth after one of the ships in the tea party. So it was a little.
You guys are always so good at naming drinks. That was always, that's the thing that is the hardest for me, but you guys
it's really funny. You know, it's so funny. I had a long conversation with our mutual friend, Pat Sullivan, who had the B-side lounge for many years. And he doesn't start to work on a drink until he has a name. And with Bobby was sort of the same way. I tried to break him with that. I was like, dude, just like work a lot. You're trying to fit to this thing. But you know, sometimes you have the name, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes you get stuck with a great drink called the Blueberry Thrill, and you're like, what have I done? You know, like. So you know, it's definitely a labor of love, a fun game to play. But people are asking for our top 3 ginger beers.
Ooh.
Ready?
Yep.
Well, let's go. We'll go back and forth. I bet we can name 5. This stuff is awesome. This is the Q Spectacular ginger beer.
Yep.
Not too spicy, but got enough of a kick. The sugars in it are natural. But there's so many different ones. I think Barrett's is also good for some things, even though it's corn syrup, you know.
A little sweet, right? It's good with rum, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Fever Tree ginger beer a lot. That's what we use at Select right now. It's
nice,
not too sweet. It's great. It reminds me of this. I love the ginger beer, the house ginger beer we used to make at Island Creek. It was the most labor-intensive nonsense, but it was so delicious and worth it.
Like all those crazy steps that we used to take, but
yeah,
you know, if you tried to, you took one out, it didn't work, you know.
Right. It was good.
There's a whole bunch of like really spicy, kind of like more Jamaican ones, and I don't find those work as well in cocktails, even though if I come in from like working in the yard, I want a really, if I'm just drinking ginger beer, I love that spicy kick. But I think sometimes it doesn't always play.
Exactly. It's overpowering.
Drinks,
sure.
You know?
Yeah.
All righty. Just checking our chat.
Yeah.
This is so great to get to make drinks with all of you.
It's fun. It's like life feels slightly normal right now.
Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. How important to a home bar do you feel Pims is?
I think it's pretty important. I think it's very versatile. I mean, these 2 cocktails here, you know, they're similar profile, but you know, Pims is, as I mentioned earlier, or in what I wrote actually, because it's nice low proof. If you want to sort of have a day where you drink all day outside in the sun, it's the perfect thing for it. A little lemonade, ginger ale, or just like seltzer and lime. I think it's very versatile. And again, you can use it in a lot of different cocktails, like we mentioned earlier. Yeah, just lighten it up and make it a little bitter, especially if you come across something that calls for the sweeter Castille or the sweeter Chambord.
Yeah, I agree. I think it actually, I think what's behind how we answer a question like that is a little bit loaded, we don't think first about what we have in the home, right? We think about how you would do mise en place on a bar. You could run a really great bar, sadly, missing Pims, right? Because you would have all these other things that you were going through quickly that we think of as like, as soon as you're done with your spirit list, what vermouths are you using? What other aromatized products do you have? Like, but those all have like a shelf life, right? And the cool thing about Pims is it kind of like all by itself, does these like really cool cocktails, and it's indestructible,
Sure.
So I think we're in the bar with 200 bottles or 300 bottles, it's less important than it is in the home bar with 5 bottles, I think. So that's where I'm at with Pims.
Yeah.
It belongs in every kitchen.
Exactly. Yeah, these are good.
It's amazing how similar they like present and how very different tastes are.
Taste, for sure. Happy to have some little Pims here now.
Yeah, is Pims a summer drink? Yes. Is it good anytime? Yes. Yeah, I think of Pims as something I drink in the summer and something when I wish I was in the summer.
Exactly. Summer will be here soon, I hope.
Oh, they're asking if we approve of taking the simple syrup down in either of these drinks a little bit.
I sure do.
I think you can cut them each in half and still get the body that you're looking for,
Yeah.
I like them this way, but I can see that.
Yeah. You like sweeter things, I think, a little bit.
I like it all.
Yeah.
But the reason you don't want to eliminate it completely is it is adding a little bit more texture.
Yeah.
But I could see even in the Dartmouth, if you wanted to, you could flip that sugar and lemon relationship. None of this stuff is scripture, right? It's for your enjoyment. So
exactly.
Keep tweaking it till you have your perfect Dartmouth highball, because that's what matters.
It's true.
Uh-oh, they're making us deathmatch Pims and Campari. This is a terrible choice.
It is a terrible choice.
If you can only have one, what are you gonna have?
Oh no, I don't know. I love a Negroni, so it's hard. Makes me a little bit sad to have to choose.
Yeah, you don't have to choose. They're both in the.
Yeah,
they're both.
Kind of need them. Kind of need them both. I'm sorry.
Make me choose vodka or gin. Don't make me choose between Pims and Campari. Like
that's a good question.
Because all the drinks for either of those cocktails work with the other one.
Sure.
But the cocktails for Pims and the cocktails from Campari, they don't swap out. Now they're asking vodka or gin. No, I'm not going to do it. Not in this show. I think we're getting close.
On this show, is that what you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not right.
I think that's all the time.
Whatever people like is what they like, and I don't want anybody to ever feel embarrassed that they like something. Somebody sits at your bar. You want to make them whatever they want.
I agree with you. I think it's a very small number of bartenders who get into, and even fewer who stay, who want to be gatekeepers.
Sure.
We have some information. The only reason we're compiling this information is to take care of you. So
exactly.
Well, Gina, it's been a treat catching up with you. Thanks so much for taking the time
to see you. Thank you for having me. This has been fun. I haven't made a cocktail in quite a long time, so this is great.
We'll see you on the patio.
I hope so.
This summer.
A patio, any patio. Yeah, they're coming.
Let's do this. All right, and that is all the time we have for Cocktail Club tonight. Join us again Thursdays at 7 p.m. Next week's guest is Kaisha Davenport, and we'll be making spritzes with Aperol. Make sure to follow the link from our sign-up page to Gordon's Wine and Spirits to pick up the kit so that you'll have everything you need for next Cocktail Club, and you'll be supporting Off Their Plate. Thanks again, Gina.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackson. Cheers. Great to see you. Thank you, everybody.
Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.